So I was talking with a friend the other evening, and talking about the logos, right? Like, what is the logos? Like, how would you explain that term to a non-Christian? Because, like, the logos is so intimately connected to the idea of Christ. Like in the Gospel of John, like in the beginning was the Word. The word that's used there is logos. Does it have any water? And so the logos is the source of reality. Like when people are talking about like where do I look to for like source energy, or where do I look for the source or the origination of all things, the causative force. And people will look into stuff, so they'll take things apart and look inside to see like how it's working. So you can do that with objects, or you can do that with your own body. Or people will just look into or research anything. So like psychology, it's like you have this experience and then you dig into it and you define personalities and personality types anyway. Archetypes, emotions, thoughts. Like from this experience here, you can dig into reality and you can find like things like psychology, or you could find things like biology. Or chakras. And so all those things, like if you're gonna dig into those things, it's like, oh, this is the why. Like what like psychology is the study of like, well, why are you this way? So same thing with science. Like why is this way? Same with like yoga, or almost every exercise, everything that you would ever do is kind of sitting on a. If you dig into it, you'll find out why it is the way that it is. So anything that has that, like, why is this the way that it is kind of a science. And then those all develop the logos is in the perceptual recognition in this moment. So it happens whenever you're reading. It happens when you recognize an object. It happens when you recognize faces. So it happens when you recognize yourself. And then once you're digging into anything, you're not really escaping the fact that you're fundamentally like you're swimming through recognition. And then that has overlap with narrative. So it's reading, it's happening when you're reading, like when you're gazing at the clouds and you see an object, it's right there. It when you recognize the meaning in a symbol, that's it. When you right, so that's the most intimate thing. So that's it's right? It's meaning, and you'll see it in these super common examples like reading, recognizing faces, and then emotions on those faces, right? To be able to look out into this world of perception and to see beings, to see other life. To see patterns in your perception and pick up on emotional energy, and like you're picking up on like a person or an animal or or whatever, you know, you're picking up on these different types of meaning in the perception, right? Is to be able to look at words or look at letters, right? You're looking at letters, or even to look at dashes and stuff, to look at dashes and marks on paper to see letters, and then to see the meaning of those letters to form words, and then to see the you know, the words form into sentences, and then to see like the narrative of a text, and then there's layered meanings and layered narratives in the text that people are capable of reading or detecting, right? There's various layers of meaning in language. There's various types of languages: body language, spoken language, like emotion, like who is communicating through an emotion? Is an emotion a communication? Is it just an event, or is it a communication? Because it could be both. Emotions could be events or communications. And can people tell you one thing but mean another? Intentionally or not? Can the meaning of things be hidden? And so hidden would mean that the meaning of things are there, just not in a recognizable form. So that's like a language you can't understand. So then you can get to a level to where, are you aware that you're looking at a language you don't understand? Or do these various languages impact you like words impact a cat, right? Like cats don't respond to written words. Like you can't write keep off on something and have the cats, they don't care. You have to pee on things to get them to stop. And sometimes they won't stop even then. Even after you pee on your own stuff, they'll keep peeing on it. Pee on their stuff. Alright, I don't have a good situation to do this, but if anybody's dealing with their cat peeing on anything, and I'm genuinely not. Usually I only offer advice of things that I'm like dealing with in the moment, but I just realized that if I was dealing with a cat peeing on my stuff, I would try peeing on their stuff. Just see what that does scientifically. I've never tried it. I've tried everything besides that, I think. So there's, yeah, and then that's everywhere. It's not where you dig into it. You'll see that you lose meaning the more that you dig into the objects of perception, because they're being created from the meaning of perception. Like everything is here for the same reason a book exists. So like the reason and like the actual causality of reality, like the true science is like in the meaning, in the reading right here. So like even as you dig into the matter, that's what makes the meaning start to get pretty crazy. It brings in outside forces to balance the narrative. And like, where did they come from? It came from the activities like in the narrative. So there literally could be anything, but you have to kind of like act or perform or write your way into it. And then that has to be sort of in agreement with a larger narrative structure. Like as you do things, all of reality is going to respond. So there's a narrative structure, there's a consciousness, there's a higher mind that gives people permission to have success or not. So people have studied this like with astrology or whatever. That's another type of the logos. A materialization of it, right? So it's like the logos is there with all that meaning, and then we wouldn't have access to any of this, like everything that people study about God or about the logos or about reality with all the sciences and the meaning. It all has to pass through your personality, your person. Like you're the one that knows this stuff. So like all of reality is accessed through the person. So all of the information, like, and all of the activity of it, like to the degree that it is a mind, because you do perceive minds with it, so it must be a mind. And the logos is the mind through which you perceive mind as well. And so you can't escape that, but it's like it has to be seen through the eyes of the person. And that's going to be sort of like the perfected person. Like, what did people evolve to be? What's the reason, the core of the story or whatever? And then that is explored in the mystery of history. Like that like this question is explored in all of history. Of like, what is the best man and what is the best woman? And that's the exploration of evolution. And we found the limit to that, or we found the mountaintop to that, like the highest of humanity. The lens through which you can apprehend beauty, right, is the most beautiful thing. The sense organ capable of apprehending beauty. And so that sense organ is reading itself. Like this, like what I'm talking about could go deep. You might have crazy sensitivities and see all sorts of stuff that you might describe in all sorts of ways. Or maybe you can just barely read. It's like you can barely read enough to use YouTube. Like you understand the YouTube symbol, and you understand the play symbol, and you understand pictures and images, and like you can only read that well. But like in all those cases, your logosing, like your understanding. And so that understanding is like universal understanding. That everyone can agree on, because it's like it's the pattern of agreement, or it's the pattern of like identification with whatever perceives understanding. Anyway, yeah, it goes. So it's like it's very subtle and like difficult in some ways, like it's hard in all these, but it's like, right, it's just reading, it's just looking at clouds, it's recognizing faces, it's like seeing a smile, it's being able to use emojis. It's the recognition of life, like if you can tell the difference between life and death in various areas, like just it's the pure recognition of life itself. And like which direction is more alive. All right, I'm almost out of my driveway. The worst. I think it's legit the worst. It's the worst road I've experienced in Hawaii. Outside of the road to Jaws. But yeah, so the Logos is like it's those deep things, but it's also just those really common basic things. The recognition of love, the recognition of insanity, the recognition of evil, right? Like it's just the goodness behind recognition. It's the goodness of meaning, like the placement of like when the logos is there and the thing is observed, it's understood in the story and placed. Because the pain is like not understanding where it's placed in the story. So the logos is the placement, is the arrangement of the letters. Right, so it's also the mind doing the arranging. And so in the beginning was that, which is like, that's right here. That was the beginning. Like right here was the beginning. and people are reflexively there when they want to be there, right? It's like the direction of pure prayer, it's the direction of contemplation, it's the direction of like, it's just being centered if you're doing movement.